The idea that what you think something is turns out to be false or incomplete, and you can actually make a reinterpretation of it and extend it even further to have a deeper, more complete understanding of it. In the video on YouTube titled "What is Power?" Michel Foucault, on the channel The Living Philosophy, it can be observed that Foucault's notion of power is different from what we generally accept and think. The video starts out by summarizing the impact that Foucault's new notion of power has made on the idea of power. In other words, his thinking was revolutionary to the notion of power. And then the video goes on to describe what power is not, which turns out to be all of the ideas that people usually relate to power, such as the absolute submitting the inferior, kind of like a king subdues his slaves. Then the video goes on to explain what power is then. And it turns out to be some type of inner energy which people always have in them that they can put out into the world. The video explains that this power-like energy also exercises influence over you as well in the form of many different options available to you. So you always have to be deciding over one option or the other, over doing one thing or the other, over your family or your friends, over one family member or the other, or over one friend or the other. All of these different options readily available to you all have power and fight for your constant attention. And this goes on to the most subtle influences that always exert a certain force and power over you, like beliefs, or on-the-spot opinion of things. So this new view of power is the structure, which is also not new, to reinterpret concepts or basic ideas which we as humans think we already know. It is a way to rediscover the world, which in essence is also just an interpretation. Foucault's notion of power lays out the blueprint for a deeper analysis of not just power, but of all sorts of different concepts we may have very limited understanding of. Now, this new, deeper, and richer understanding of the ideas of the world, such as power, can help us to take different action because, after all, understanding leads to beliefs, and those beliefs lead to attitudes which contain value, feelings, and emotions. And those attitudes eventually lead to behavior, which in turn also leads to interpretation or reinterpretation of those behaviors. This idea is not mine. It is from a text on persistent delirium disorder. So the question of whether this information is simply abstract and useless could be affirmative, but it could also be that it is practical knowledge. If we ask, can we apply this to the practical world? Is this knowledge useful or meaningful? The answer is yes, because no, we can turn into the ideas of addiction and changing the obsessed patterns of addictive behavior. Alan Carr, in his book, The Easy Way to Stop Drinking, mentions a new way to quit drinking by reinterpreting the myths you have on drinking. It is, again, all about reinterpretation, such as for smokers, the idea that smoking helps you relax, when scientifically it is proven that smoking elevates your blood pressure. So how can you actually relax if when you smoke, your physiologically is negatively affected? It is actually seeing things for what they are and not for what the common myth or the popular ideas say. Reinterpretation of the ideas to get a better and deeper understanding of the ideas helps us to make more informed decisions because it leads us to see something for more than what we think it is. First, we have to know that the world we think we know, we don't really know it at all. And this is not to sound like some sort of conspiracy paranoid theorist with no other type of answer or alternative than the simple, we are being controlled, because that is not true. The thing is that there is just so much more to know. Humans are in a dark place in regards to knowledge and understanding, and some few have torches that light the way into darkness, and what we have been able to see is just part of a whole. But that part is in no way the whole, nor is it an accurate and general interpretation or understanding of the whole. It is like being blind and touching the leg of an elephant and thinking that the whole elephant is a leg. One big example is the observer as part of the observed. It is known that quantum physics and the quantum realm is a crazy place full of crazy things happening, such as being able to affect something that is nowhere near the vicinity of the other, such as in quantum entanglement. There is another idea that has led to an explosion in the new and modern human development and self-help books, which is the way in which you observe something actually creates that something. This is in line with The Secret, which says basically think and feel that which you want in life, such as money, success, a partner, and you will have it. It's visualization 101. That is, visualize it and manifest it. The observer effect, for example, tells us that we constantly have a multitude of options in our world, and the ideas we choose to shine light on and to which we attend are the ones that become reality. That is where we get the idea of multiverses. With thought experiments such as Schrödinger's cat, where the cat is both alive and dead until the observer opens the box to see and define the possibilities. It is possible to control your environment by the ideas that you choose to have or the ideas you choose to act on. From the present, the whole world in the future is all quantum potential, and it has all of the possible outcomes to a decision, for example. And when you choose one thing over another, or when you attend to one thing over the others, then the whole world of potentials collapses in on itself on that one decision you acted on, and that becomes reality to us. Life is simple in the present, that is, it has low entropy according to chaos theory, and it is made complex, high entropy, through all of its possible and potential outcomes in the future. Once a decision has been made, it is simple once again. Anyway, there is another idea when quantum physics or microphysics and psychology intertwine, which states that the observer, that is, you who is observing, analyzing, and thinking about the world and trying to understand it, you are also an active agent in the world you are observing. You are subject and object. You, the observer, is also part of the observed, and hence you are influencing and participating in the world which you seem to so objectively and scientifically be thinking about. What if your thinking and observing are the reasons why the world you perceive is the way it is, and it is not so much that the world is that way? This can be interpreted as idealism, of course, which states that everything is in your head and that nothing really exists outside of your mind. That is not what this essay is saying. What it is saying, however, is that your world is shaped by your contact with it. It means that subjectivity affects objectivity. It means that randomness and chaos are in constant contact with order and thus altering it in small and subtle ways to generate the changes we see in the world, be them physical, social, or psychological. It is an ontological, phenomenological take on life, taking the subjective individual experience and its phenomena as part of a life-altering condition for not only changes in the world, but for a deeper understanding of it. The observer paradox helps us to think about the reasons why humans can and most likely influence their environment and the outcomes of many situations. This seems like a no-brainer, but the idea that you are actually in the environment you are observing at any point in time makes you reconsider your role in the world and how it might actually be influencing your perception of it. That is, you could be wrong even though it feels so right. You must always be doubtful even of your privately held sensibilities. The observer effect and the observer paradox could be defined first and foremost as not being that which is simply influencing its environment. This seems like a good place to start with reasoning deeper about these ideas, following the blueprint of the Living Philosophy video. This can be an exercise to see how far we can get with it. First, realize that that which you think is not. Then continue to define what it is then. So the observer effect and the observer paradox do not mean that if you do not observe something, then that which you are observing will not take place. Things happen all of the time, independently of humans observing it or not. The effect and paradox should not take on a strictly anthropological view. What does tend to happen is that when you become part of that world which you view, your participation in it will be influenced by your knowledge of it. Kind of like realizing something for the first time. That stops you immediately and it makes you reconsider things. New interpretations and new insights give you a more complete picture of life so you can make better decisions. But do you really have a deeper understanding of it? Or does it just confuse you more? People could be confused at first. However, people also need to trust their instinct and know that their subconscious is registering everything. So even if you don't get it right away, it is stored somewhere in your mind for later use. I want to further investigate the works of Alfred Korzybski, who claimed that the map is not the territory, and George Box, who said that all models are wrong, but some are useful. Our interpretation of the world needs to be constantly updated with newer and deeper insights. Also, the Weber-Fechner law, which states that our perception of the physical world is merely psychological, subjective experience is nonetheless a real experience in life. People try to brush off subjectivity because we don't yet understand it and try to only focus on empirical and proven data and concepts like gravity, things we can measure, hence control. But we have to remember that even gravity was once not even a thing. People long ago lived in a world where the laws of gravity still applied while being oblivious. How many other things are we currently living with which we are oblivious to?